Welcome back to the World of Commerce podcast. I'm your host, Marcel Hollerbach. In this episode, I met with Omar Ouchene on the beautiful island Ibiza. Omar is the founder of Dutch re-commerce company Refurbished. We spoke about how and why the company was founded, how it almost got bankrupt before Black Friday, how Omar acquired his first customer, how relevant Google is for them, and what other channels work for them in customer acquisition. Please enjoy this special Ibiza episode.
And what you see now is that when people are searching for a car, they don't end up visiting, for example, Mercedes.com or BMW.com. They probably end up at Autoscout or CarWow.
Because they own the keyword.
Exactly. And it's way more relevant because you're searching for a car, not a specific brand. Or if you're searching for a specific brand, you still end up at, for example, one of those I just mentioned.
Just TechCrunch a couple of days ago had an article about how consumer behavior, especially in Generation Z, is changing and how the new consumers are demanding more products from what we call the circular economy, more refurbished stuff, more sustainably created products and so on. So I think that should be good tailwinds for you right now.
Yeah, for sure. The timing couldn't be any better.
So hi, Omar.
Hi, Marcel.
We're sitting here on Ibiza today. The weather is beautiful. We're at the Hub, which is a co-working space here on the island. And Omar and I, we met just a couple of days ago, and I thought it would be cool to have you on this week's episode of the podcast, basically.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for inviting.
Before we go into the introduction, I've got a question that I ask basically all my guests. And as we are like a commerce and retail podcast, it's like, what's an item that you recently purchased that you really love?
Good question. Well, I recently came across a smartphone, which is called the Light phone. It's maybe something similar like a feature phone or just those basic phones. You can make phone calls, text messages. It has a calculator. You can listen to music, podcasts, and use it to navigate, but that's it. It's got a e-ink screen, and because of that screen, I looked further because I thought maybe it would be nice to have such a screen just on my desktop, like a big e-ink screen, and there actually was. It's called the Mira Pro. It's about 25, I guess, inch, and well, yeah, it's just a black and white, eyes-friendly screen.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, if you're not using Photoshop, like if you're not dependent on all the colors, it's perfect.
And how was the shopping experience? I remember that getting packages delivered to Ibiza is a bit tricky.
Well, yeah. You'll get used to it. I got a PO box, right? So I forgot about all the shipments in the Netherlands. They usually they are like delivered next day or maybe in 2 days, but at some point here in Spain you just wait until it comes. And well, but it was all fine, I guess. Pretty well experienced. It was shipped from, I guess, the States, and they know how to ship their products.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when I first met you here, I had a backflash into my own youth, basically. When I was in 10th grade in high school, there was a guy that approached me on the schoolyard, basically, and said, look, Marcel, you can do some coding. I have this idea for this website. And he, back in the days, wanted to build a site that later, under the name Trade a Game, was founded, where you could exchange, basically sell and buy used computer games, right? And I didn't engage with him back in the days. I didn't understand at all what the internet was, and then there's a great business opportunity behind it. But he went on to do it and found a co-founder also from my high school, basically. And that company eventually later turned into Rebuy, which is Germany's one of the largest re-commerce companies. So I understand you were in a similar market in the Netherlands. So maybe you can introduce yourself to the audience and explain a little bit what your company does.
Yeah. Well, in December 2015, I started a company which is called refurbished.nl. It came from an idea I had in 2013, 2014, where it was so obvious that nowadays that when you have all these expertise of repair shops everywhere and people wanting to buy so many different products. Like when we were younger, we had a television and a radio, and it was in color, the television, and we started to buy computers. But our parents, they maybe didn't even had a television when they were younger, right? So when you look at the modern time now, people think they need a tablet, a smartphone, a laptop, maybe even a desktop. They need a television. They need so many products. So, but their income didn't grow as much as through time as the available products to buy did. So it made sense that a refurbished industry made sense to came in existence, right? You saw it everywhere that the possibilities arose. So I thought about it and I realized that the refurbished market is perfectly suitable for a marketplace business, simply because if you look at any new market, you can produce any product on demand. But if you look at used products, there is just what there is, right? If you want a specific, like a blue colored iPhone in a specific storage size, maybe one of your preferred suppliers just doesn't have it, right? So if you could have a marketplace where all of those come together, the consumer will find probably what they are looking for. But I didn't have enough money to start off as a marketplace, right? Because, come on, if you look at Amazon or our local Amazon bol.com, they as well didn't start off as a marketplace. If you look at it, almost all of them, they grew into being a marketplace at some point. So we just started off as a refurbished supplier in the Netherlands. We had our own quality and control. We sourced it worldwide and we checked them, repaired them, put them in our own box with our own brand. And then at some point we realized, again, exactly the issue of not having all the stock that your customers want to buy. But we saw that some of our suppliers had more stock than we did, but they didn't sell directly to end consumers. So at some point we connected their warehouse just by simple technique, and from that point our inventory grew, but we still weren't a marketplace. But we started with one and then a second and then a third, and then at some point we started to realize, because we had all the data, that we could stop buying stock ourselves, because we had more than enough stock available through selling the stock offered by our suppliers. So we did. In 2018 we quit our own warehouse and we fully went on as a marketplace, and in the 12 months after that decision we grew with 1,000%. I guess from 500k to a 5 million revenue. And I guess we will be doing between 40 and 50 million this year, which is about 5 years later now. So the decision to move on from being a just regular retailer, online retailer, to being a marketplace, it changed everything for us because we could fully focus on marketing, sales, and customer experience. So it went well. We started in the Netherlands, we did Belgium, and we are trying to grow now in Germany and Austria.
Super interesting. I'm just trying to figure out whether you are you closer to someone like Rebuy or closer to eBay? So do you still see the
Good
products
question.
of your
No, we
suppliers?
don't. No, of course we while onboarding our suppliers, we check their products, but no, we do not see our products. So we are definitely closer to eBay than Rebuy.
So, and your suppliers, those are basically vendors, companies that acquire used products from somewhere, and they ensure the quality basically. And if you source from those suppliers, everything is checked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you could say that it's not a real difference from, for example, Amazon or Bol.com. It's just sellers having stock, offering products which they are expert in, but we are in a specific niche market, in the refurbished market. So we as well have all the experience, so we know what they are selling. So not everyone can be accepted because they are used products, right? And we give it 3 years warranty. So what maybe is interesting to add to this refurbished story and why it works, if you go back to early 1900s, at some point I guess Ford built a car which was new, but not everyone could afford it, right? So at some point these cars came available as a used car, which more people could afford. And then all these years later, what you see now is that the occasion market or used car market is way bigger than the new market, logically. And the big winner of this all is are the oil companies, because they have users, right? The car drivers are users. So if you look at our specific market, people are using the products. They are, for example, iOS users or macOS users, Windows users, Android users, or the PlayStation platform users. And what you see now is that when people are searching for a car, they don't end up visiting, for example, Mercedes.com or BMW.com. They probably end up at Autoscout or CarWow.
Because they own the keyword.
Exactly. And it's way more relevant because you're searching for a car, not a specific brand. Or if you're searching for a specific brand, you still end up at, for example, one of those I just mentioned. But the same counts for the refurbished market. That's why you see so many big names investing in this market, because it's so obvious where it's going. And it's not just products that we are selling now, like the consumer electronics, but probably you even see cars being called refurbished nowadays. And Nike and IKEA, they're all using the same term, refurbished. That's why we are also so happy that we once invested in the word or domain name refurbished.nl and all of those around Europe, and eventually even got access to refurbished.com. So
it allows you to expand in a lot of other verticals in the future, right? It doesn't limit you to a specific category. Speaking of, do you have any plans to go beyond electronics and other verticals? And if yes, which ones?
Yes, for sure. I guess home appliances would be one of the first. And every time when I come somewhere, for example, here at Vita, I once came across, you know, the brand. I guess it's called Black and Decker,
Sure.
right? Maybe it's German,
Not sure. I think it's
from the UK,
I think
maybe
it's US, maybe.
US.
I'm
Well,
not sure.
They had a line called Raviva. I guess it's about recycled, right? So they use recycled materials. So I talked about it with my business partner, and it makes total sense to also offer those type of products. So it's not all refurbished, but it's also those products that can be recycled. So it doesn't really matter what type of products. At least the only thing that matters is if they are, one, used and can be offered to customers with a warranty.
Right. There's a beautiful German word called Zeitgeist. I think it's globally understood.
Yeah, it is.
And I think that is where you are at the moment with your company. Yeah. So I just TechCrunch a couple of days ago had an article about how consumer behavior, especially in Generation Z, is changing, and how the new consumers are demanding more products from what we call the circular economy, more refurbished stuff, more sustainably created products, and so on. So I think that should be good tailwinds for you right now.
Yeah, for sure. The timing couldn't be any better.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of tailwinds and so on, you mentioned you're like in between 50 to 100 million in revenue basically by now, right? So what would it take to get you up to a billion?
That's a good question. We are talking with investors, logically, to get the capital inside the company to make that growth a reality. So that's basically it.
So how are you financed so far? Is it bootstrapped completely, or do you have some
Yeah,
business angels?
we did it all ourselves.
Nice.
Yeah. So we had some experience from me and my business partner before this. So we were able to finance it up till now, I guess.
Perfect.
But if you look at the typical startup like phases, we are exactly where we are able to scale up very fast. But we definitely need to be like boosted, right? But regarding that, the timing couldn't be better as well. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you being bootstrapped, I guess it meant for you also that you had also a couple of constraints basically in the past, like what you could do like financially and so on. You can't make as many mistakes probably as a company that is massively funded. So how often did your business die basically in the last years?
This company.
How often did it nearly die?
Well, I stopped counting, I guess. Yeah. No, yeah. Well, to be honest, I did stop counting, but yeah, many times.
Is there an incident that you like still vividly remember where you were like, "Oh, there was"? I
guess all of them, but yeah. You want an example, I guess, right?
If you have one.
Well, one of the most painful was, I guess, that we were near Black Friday and near Sinterklaas in the Netherlands, and Santa Claus, like Christmas, in the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany. And we were kind of starting to run out of money, right? So, we managed, but it was close. I had a talk with my business partner, like, okay, I can now like start counting the days until it's over, right? So so we need to do something. But yeah, we eventually we managed. So yeah, I guess it's typical, right? Before this company, one company literally died in the same market, which was a good lesson as well, right? But It's how things go and trying to build a company, right?
Yeah.
That's life.
You're a survivor.
Oh, well, for sure.
Great to hear.
For sure.
Yeah, awesome stuff. What I'm also curious is basically when you came up with the idea, right? You put together your first MVP. How did you acquire your first customer?
I guess well, we had the knowledge to how e-commerce in general works regarding, for example, just Google Ads and so on, like internet marketing. So that's why we also thought about the domain name we were going to use, because it is not as it was before, right? Because if you go back, I don't know, 15 years or so, the domain name was highly relevant for Google.
Yep.
It made you go first place like immediately. But nowadays it doesn't work like that, but still it's of value. But we invested in SEO and SEA directly, where normally you see people, they just are going to use Google Ads and more of those direct type of marketing channels. While I understood that it would make total sense to invest heavily in SEO directly, and therefore we saw the result pretty quickly, like within the year that we ended like top 3 rankings.
Wow.
While others were already in business for 3-4 years. So the refurbished market in general is pretty new, but there were others already, also already being funded heavily. So we kind of outgrew them. But yeah, that's our first customer came obviously from Google Ads, but I already knew there was a market, so there was.
Good old Google.
Yeah.
So is it like the organic rankings that you get from SEO, is it then typically a combination of, let's say, a product, let's say iPhone, and then refurbished, or what are people actually looking for?
Good question.
Are they even looking for refurbished products, or are they in general just looking for a cheap iPhone, so to say?
Well, both. When we started, what we saw that specifically in the Netherlands, the Dutch consumer was already aware of the word refurbished. But they didn't trust the market so much, you know, because quality was a thing back then. It grew very hard. Let me try to explain. When we started, the average warranty was about 3 or 6 months, I guess. Like 3 or 6 months. I mean, come on.
That's not so long.
That's not so long. So you can imagine that a customer wouldn't trust it, right? So at some point we started doing more research, and we came to the conclusion that logically we would need a same period of warranty like new products, because it would mean for any customer that at least you would buy something of the same value regarding those type of things, such as warranty, right? So we actually started off going from at that point 1 to 2 years warranty, and end up at now having 2 years warranty as one of few. Yeah.
It's an interesting topic. Is it used very often by clients actually, or is that really is a big case for you?
For us it isn't, but for the customer it is.
Yeah.
It usually is about just a feeling, right?
Right.
It's really an emotional thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because
I guess it's like free returns, right?
of course,
If you do it, free shipping,
right,
speed of delivery, all of these things, right, add
right,
up to a good customer experience.
right. And if you look at the emotional part of warranty, I would say that everyone knows that usually your product, when it arrives, it works or it doesn't. And how many times it doesn't work after a while? Not so many times. Usually good products, they just work.
Right.
So
except for the batteries in the iPhone, but that's a different story.
yeah, and it's a story that is also talked about openly by us and Apple, and everyone knows about it, and there's nothing to complain about it.
Right. Going back to the acquisition channels, so you made the choice to very early on invest not just into SEM but also SEO, which I think is the right thing to do because you get immediate results right from SEM, but it also obviously costs a lot of money, lowers your margin. While if you can acquire customers through organic search, SEO, it's a lot better, but it takes more time to build up. Right? I think that's a trap a lot of companies fall into. They see the immediate results from SEM, then they continue to scale that up and they don't invest into SEO, which is a long-term game, but in the long run, right, it's a lot better obviously for your acquisition. Are there other channels, acquisition channels that you leverage? I don't know, are you active on TikTok, for example, or do you do anything on Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that?
Well, what we try to do is to keep focus. And with focus, I mean really focus on not doing so many things at the same time.
Yeah.
So actually, up until this year, we were fully aware of all the different type of marketing channels we could use, but we just didn't.
Mm-hmm.
We just focused on Google Ads, organic results by SEO. But this year we started to broaden our channels, and one of the reasons as well was that, and you can have different visions on this, but I tell you our vision.
Sure.
And I guess everyone will, in some degree, agree with this. That if you, for example, start doing email marketing, it's way more effective when you have 100,000 of customers instead of having just a few hundred, right? So that's how we looked at it. Like, okay, let's keep focus. Mm-hmm. Let's just build the best marketplace that we could. And then at some point when we think we are big enough, we will start adding new channels which will amplify already what we are doing. Mm-hmm. And that's the exact thing we are seeing now. Mm-hmm. That everything we add to our mix just has a way bigger effect than it could have had earlier.
You already mentioned email marketing, completely agree, right? You need a certain user base, and first, basically when you start the company, you go for land grab, right? You try to acquire as much consumers as possible, but is there anything from the new channel mix that you mentioned that stands out next to Google?
Well, what I think really is standing out is not specifically a channel. We can talk about all these different channels we can use, but they are the more obvious things. We try to get like a new customer experience, or maybe it's an old one. Let me explain something. Back when I was younger, I had an internship at high school in my local like telephone store, right? So every time a customer came in, I tried to get the customer out with just a few questions, right? And have them buying the perfect thing they knew they wanted to buy. So what happened when the internet came is that the amount of information the advisor, so to say, or the salesperson in your store that type of information just wasn't directly there. So what you see now is that many e-commerce based companies, they try to get influencers involved and try to give as much as possible information at their websites to inform their customers about possibly a product they want to buy. Because it's not possible to call a customer support of your like, for example, Zalando. You won't call Zalando to ask a sales representative to which shoes you gotta buy.
That would be funny, though.
I think it would be a great idea.
I'm not sure if the Zappos in the US is doing that or so. I heard stories that
I
you
heard
can basically
stories,
call them
yeah.
for everything, like
Yeah.
even ordering a pizza or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
for pizza? Nice. Oh, yeah. So, from my own experience as just a human being trying to buy something in a store, I remember how it went when we were younger. So, at some point the internet came, and then, for example, if you want to buy a computer is one of the best worst examples. Like, if you want to buy, for example, if not the type of guys that we are, but if a regular customer wants to buy a computer, even at Apple website, they don't know what they are buying. They just don't.
Right.
They don't know what a CPU is.
Right.
Forget about all the rest. They don't just know. They just don't know. So why would you offer a product like that? But if you would come into a store, a computer store, the guy who is coming to you, he will probably ask you the exact right questions to get you the exact right computer you need. Not by asking what processor type do you need, or not those type of questions. So regarding your question about channels, we are, I guess, more focused on creating better on-site experiences, like one we created recently, which we call Jasmine. And what Jasmine does is, when you enter our website, and we're just trying this out with iPhones at the moment, when you enter our website and you're in search for a refurbished iPhone, you can click this button, which states searching for your iPhone. Jasmine is going to help you. When you click it, a video pops up, and Jasmine says, "Hi, welcome at Refurbished. Are you in search for a refurbished iPhone? I will help you in 4 questions." Well, then she does, right? She asks you 4 questions, and you just click the buttons, just like a normal person will ask you in the store.
Nice.
And what happens? People actually buy more products.
Yeah.
The conversion rate is more than quadrupled. So, yeah, we are.
It's a nice hack.
Yeah,
to
it
get
is.
the conversion rate up.
And the thing is, you've never seen this before.
Yeah.
Nowhere. Worldwide, you've not seen this being used. Well, it's so obvious, right? It's so obvious. So, if you, for example, look even at our website, or maybe Amazon's maybe a better example, you enter the website, and then you have 1,000 filters, for which you need to scroll and click and search. It takes hours, right? It's not in the exact moment, but in the total journey, it takes hours for people to get to a point where they buy something. And that's just because there's too much information. They just don't know. They just don't know. It's like putting someone in the media market and tell them, buy a computer.
Yeah.
They don't know. They will need days to get to the point. If no one's coming to them to help them, they just don't know. So we're trying to think beyond just using the obvious channels.
I feel you're cracking for your vertical a problem that we see all across the board. It's a discovery problem, right? So I don't know how many hours I have spent sitting on the sofa finding the right episode on Netflix to watch, basically, right? Or at least anything to watch, basically.
Yeah.
That I would like, that I haven't seen before. And I guess this goes all across the board, basically, wherever you go. And what I feel is there is a reason why there's still other e-commerce brands out there next to Amazon, right?
I
Because
agree.
Amazon has everything, but it completely fails and sucks at discovering products, right? If I were to shop furniture, I would rather go to Wayfair, for example. If I want a refurbished product, I would go to your site, for example. And I think that's basically also where you need to be, right? Be a really good specialist in that area, and that will ensure basically that you have a loyal customer base.
Right, totally agree. Yeah.
Well, Omar, we're getting to the end of the episode. Super cool to have you. I feel on that discovery topic we could even do
Talk for hours.
another episode, right? Also touch on AI and how that can help in the future, but that goes a little bit too far right now.
Right.
So hope to see you soon again, and thanks for taking part.
Thank you as well. Thank you.